VGMP.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for a brand new episode of VGMP, the video game movie podcast. And it's time for a real slobber knocker, a smackdown, a battle for the ages, as we watch the 2010 adaptation of popular video game fighting franchise, Tekken. Tekken.
As Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa says, Tekken. He sort of chews his own mouth when he says it.
Yeah, that guy shouldn't be in this film.
No! You leave my Tagawa alone.
So this is an adaptation of Tekken, directed by Dwight Little.
Yes.
Who you may know from Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, which is not a great film. It's also written by Alan B. McElroy, who you may also know was the original writer on board for the Resident Evil film, pre-George Romero, but his version no longer exists. It is lost to the sands of time, as this film should have been. As Tekken as an entire franchise should have been. So, as always, we like to start with our experience of the franchise. I'll start. I have none.
Excellent.
I literally have... I'll tell you, I've played Tekken one time, and that is when I went to supporter of the show, Harry McElroy's house one time.
Right.
And I played exactly one game, one round of Tekken Tag Tournament with him.
Yep.
Where he absolutely annihilated me because I'd never played the game before in my life, and he has been playing it since it came out. He loves it. It's one of his favourite games of all time.
Sure.
We've talked about this before. I don't like arcade fighters. I don't like them. I'm no good at them, for starters.
Yeah.
And I find them dull. So why on earth would I have ever played Tekken?
Yeah.
I know there's a guy with a cheetah head called King.
Yep.
And
he's not in this film.
The fact he is not in this film is a travesty. What's your experience with Tekken?
Well, my experiences with Tekken is that not a lot, I'll be honest. I never, because they came out exclusively on the PlayStation.
You're not a Sony guy.
Nope. I never played a single one of them until I had a PS3, and already at that point, in about 2008, 2009, I was looking to start collecting video game adaptations, of which I thought there might be about 30 or 40, maybe 50. Oh, if only that was all there were. And I knew that Tekken Blood Vengeance was coming out. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about the series. But I knew that the only way to get it was to get it on Blu-ray as part of a compilation where they sell that, and Tekken Tag Tournament, but it was a remastered version for the PS3.
Right.
And so you had Tekken Tag Tournament remastered plus a demo, I think, for the upcoming Tekken Tag Tournament game, which went into the demon shit that we all saw. Now, we've previously covered Blood Vengeance. So there was essentially a remaster of the original game, and then there was a preview, basically, of the game that film was the precursor to. So I played that a little bit. Wasn't much to play. I was like, okay, it's pretty much a standard slap 'em up, and there's some demons in this one, and I hate demons, so I don't give a shit. Other than that, I think last year, Tekken came up for cheap on Xbox Live. So I was like, you know what, I think it's Tekken 8.
I think the newest one is Tekken 8.
Right, it's one that's now finished, not a new release, so like they've released everything they're going over, so maybe it was Tekken 7.
Right.
It was like 15 quid or something, but it comes with all the DLC and all the extra parts and blah, 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 blah. I was like, sod it, why not? I'll give it a punt. I've never played Tekken. So I downloaded it, went into the character customizer to try on different outfits for some characters, and went, oh, that was fun, and I've never played it again. I never even touched the fighting. I just got to a point where I was like, it's time for bed and I can't be arsed. So I never played it again.
Sounds about right, because it's a garbage game.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I don't know where Tekken fits, I'll be honest. I know it has fans, obviously a lot of big fans. It was a massive series.
Yeah.
But I don't really know where it fits on my monitor of why I should give a shit.
I can't work out what the USP of Tekken is.
Yeah, because like if you want a
Street Fighter originated stuff, like that's like Street Fighter's got like this reputation of pioneering a load of things.
Yeah,
Mortal Kombat's got its mythology.
Yeah, that's very fantasy based.
Dead or Alive's got its jiggle physics.
Yep. Virtua Fighter was the first 3D game. If you want a
No
basic
one cares,
slap 'em
though.
up, then you go for Virtua Fighter.
Virtua Fighter is one of the only arcade fighters I've played.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have played Virtua Fighter Foe.
good game.
Because it came free with my PS2.
Right.
It was the game that came in the box when I got my PS2.
Yeah.
And the other game I bought at the same time was Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex.
Right.
And you better believe, baby, that I did maybe 10 minutes on Virtua Fighter and then just played Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah. The thing is,
hated Virtua Fighter.
yeah, the problem with the Virtua Fighter is that it is a very technical game.
To be fair.
So if you're not into fighters, you won't be into it. But again, that's what I saw of Tekken. The closest that I've really gotten to playing much Tekken-related shit was I did sometimes play as Yoshimitsu in Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, who is a borrowed character.
Right.
But I don't know what he's like in the Tekken games.
No.
In Soul Calibur, number one, he fits because he's got a weapon, even in Tekken, and Soul Calibur was all about armed characters, whereas Tekken is mostly bare fist. So I don't really understand why he was in Tekken, but, you know, he made more sense in Soul Calibur. And also the fact that he was made of wood in Soul Calibur, whereas I think he's always been, like, metallic in Tekken. Whereas in this film, they do have him, but it's a bloke in like a full samurai armor style character, so he's not actually a robot.
Yeah.
But he's always been a robot, to my knowledge. At least he was in Soul Calibur. But that's that. Honestly, other than that, and obviously when we watched Blood Vengeance, we found out that you've got the schoolgirl character who thought
Who's a cyborg.
no. And then she got the friend who doesn't dress like a schoolgirl but is technically a schoolgirl, and she's a cyborg, and she says she's a refrigerator.
Alyssa, you're just like a refrigerator. Huh?
Yeah. There's a weird tradition, isn't there, in fighting games of having magic in them. You think there wouldn't be, but there actually is. Like, all of them have it. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat,
Virtua Fighter
Tekken.
doesn't.
Virtua Fighter has a character who's a bear.
Yeah, but it's not magic.
He's a bear, Rory.
A bear can fight without magic. How many magic bears do you know, Jamie?
Isn't he half man, half bear?
No, not in Virtua Fighter.
And isn't the final boss like a liquid metal man?
Okay, yeah, no, I give you Jirali is a liquid metal. Well, actually, it's probably the first they/them in video gaming, because it's meant to be relatively genderless. But I suppose because it's a metallic creature, it can't really have a gender.
No.
You've also got, to be fair, Fighting Vipers, which was
I don't know that one.
it was basically a build off of the Virtua Fighter engine, but its unique USP was that it was younger fighters who would use gnarly 90s stuff as their weapons. So you had one who had skateboard, you had one who used to beat people up on roller skates, you had one which used a BMX bike, you had one called Axel who used one of them V guitars, like heavy metal guitars.
God.
It was multicolored, and it was.
So I'm just thinking, is Dead or Alive the only one of the major fighting game franchises?
Right.
Dead or Alive don't really have magic in it, does it?
I mean, those tits are magical.
Other than the gigantic globes of flesh.
The fact that they have their own orbit.
What I mean is, there's no like Hadoukening or anything like that, is there? Unless I'm remembering wrong.
To be fair though, like that's the same with Virtua Fighter, and the same with Fighting Vipers.
Okay,
There's
right.
no
listen
special
to me,
moves.
Rory.
Go on.
This is gonna hurt to hear. Fighting Vipers and Virtua Fighter are not major franchises anymore. When I say
anymore, I'll grant you anymore.
when
but
I
they
say
were major.
the major fighting franchises,
I mean, Tekken's not major anymore, is it?
means Tekken is the lowest of them all now. It means Tekken, Dead or Alive, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat.
I mean, Dead or Alive probably doesn't even count anymore.
To be honest, it probably doesn't. Probably it's just Street Fighter. To be honest, it's just Street Fighter's relevant is because they've just done a new game that's been highly successful.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? They're the
Killer
four
Instinct?
big ones. Never even heard of it.
Killer Instinct was big.
Never heard of it.
Rare made it.
Never heard of them.
And then it got bought by Microsoft, and they made one on the Xbox One.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
I'll be honest, it's not great. But it does have a very enthusiastic announcer, Combo Breaker! And you're like, yeah.
So anyway, in this film...
Earthworm Jim was in it. Oh, well, no, he wasn't. He was in Clay Fighter 63 and a third, wasn't he? Clay Fighter's another one?
You're making these up now.
Clay
These
Fighter-
don't exist.
Clay Fighter's a real game.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. www.nope.com.
Yeah. Look up
.org.
Clay Fighter 63 and a third.
I will not.
It's a renownedly terrible N64
I will
fighter.
not be looking it up. It sounds awful.
There was one on the
It
PlayStation
sounds
as well.
about as bad as Smash Brothers. And yeah, I said what I said. Smash Brothers is a terrible game. I don't know why it's so popular. It's so fucking shit. We had it. Me, Joe, and John had Smash Brothers.
On what?
I don't know which one.
Well, which console was it on?
Wii.
Oh, that's a
Brawl?
yeah. That's
Brawl.
that's not a good one.
John loved it. My little brother loved it. I couldn't work it out. I tried playing it, and I was like, I don't mean I couldn't work out how to play it. Like, I knew how to play it, but I was just like, I'm not having fun doing this.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It was a bit of a backward step from Melee Brawl.
I mean, none of them look good. Like,
Melee's great.
if I'm going to do a massive crossover fighting game, could I do it with a company that has good game characters, not Nintendo?
I mean, Nintendo's got decent characters. You can't... Come on, man. You can't say... You can not like Nintendo properties, that's fine, but you can't say it doesn't have iconic characters.
No, I didn't say iconic. I said decent. There's a difference between iconic. As you always say, there's a difference between good and popular.
No, fair point. Fair point.
Mario shit. Link is shit. Joe, what? Honestly, I'm going full kamikaze right now. Burn this show to the ground. Mario is shit. Link is shit.
Oh, no.
Metroid Prime is shit.
Metroid...
Kirby is just
It's not
a
even
copy.
her name.
Honestly, Samus. Samus is shit. Fucking
Kirby is shit. I don't like Kirby.
Is just a fat Jigglypuff that can't sing.
It was before Jigglypuff.
I don't care. Honestly, such a garbage company.
You have Ganondorf.
I don't care.
And Star Fox.
I don't care.
And Falco.
Don't care. All garbage. But to be fair to everyone, my taste in gaming's garbage.
No, fair enough.
Because I still, even despite all the betrayals he's done to us, I still stand Sonic the Hedgehog. So, even though he has broken our hearts many times in the last 15 years or so.
You know what I don't understand is why Sega don't bring out another Fighters Mega Mix.
Because Sega's not a real company
No,
anymore, Rory.
listen, right, so you are right. I love Sega franchises, you know this. But you are right. As much as I think Virtua Fighter and, Fighting Vipers were big series, and they were in their day, you're right, they are no longer culturally relevant. No, there are no 15-year-old kids going, I can't wait for a new Virtua Fighter. It's not happening, right? Fine. I grant you that. However, you could bring in that new crowd with some characters that are a little bit more introductory. And that's where Fighters Megamix was a good starting premise, because it was based on the Virtua Fighter 3 engine, which at that point hadn't yet been released. And you had Fighters Megamix characters, you had Virtua Fighter characters, and yes, I know what you're going to say, who could possibly care about them? But it also included 2 characters from Sonic the Fighters, not the good ones, that's why you'd need to bring Sonic, etc. over. You got to play as the car from Daytona, USA, which was a fucking weird choice. But you could bring in a lot more characters that are more well-known now. Certainly that are a lot more current into that fighting game, and people would accept it more readily. I think there would be, because it's... Let's be clear, it did sell. It sold with the Sonic racing games, like All-Stars Racing Transformed. Right. So the fact that those games made money means that regardless of how majorly popular they are, they're popular enough to sell. You could do a fighting game with those characters and it would sell.
Yeah. So what I'm going to say is I'm drunk, I'm bitter, I'm angry because we've got to talk about Tekken. Because the truth is, there's nothing you could pitch that would make me like fighting it. I just don't like them. And I have tried them. I've tried Virtua Fighter. I've tried Dead or Alive. If giant jiggly tits don't get me to like a fighting game, nothing will. What I will say, though, is if they're going to do any fighting game that I would like, Capcom need to bring back Power Stone. Because Power Stone's one of the only fighting games I had as a kid that I liked.
I honestly don't understand why they stopped at 2. The only time they've done anything with Power Stone since the Dreamcast was when they did a double re-release for the PSP.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm I've always looked at it going, well, Power Stone 2 had online play in Japan for the Dreamcast. It's an easy sell. Bring it back on Xbox Live or on Steam or whatever, and just patch the online to work with modern broadband. That's not even technically difficult.
Yeah. But fair, I'd just like to say, please do write in and let us know what
Tekken?
your favourite fighting franchise is.
Can you let me know why Tekken
also,
is relevant? Because I have no idea why it's relevant.
And you can also let me know why I'm wrong about Nintendo having no good characters. Write to info.impalafilms@gmail.com. I tell you what I would like to play. They did a Final Fantasy fighting game called Dissidia.
That sounds terrible.
That's all the Final Fantasy characters, which to be fair, that's all the characters over 15 games, I think, was by that point. It's called Dissidia Final Fantasy. So, Tekken. I'm going to start by saying that this had an interesting setup, and I don't mean interesting as in good, I mean interesting as in I don't think this has anything to do with the games, but maybe someone can correct me. This is set in a sci-fi dystopian future.
Yeah, it's very...
Which I thought Tekken was set normal, modern day.
It definitely doesn't gel with what we saw in Blood Vengeance. Now, I know obviously this is a spin-off, realistically, whereas Blood Vengeance is set in the actual timeline. So I assume by the fact that there are a lot of companies, there are people going to school, and that there are, highways that get destroyed by the Williams sisters during the beginning of Blood Vengeance, that essentially Tekken is set on basically a similar but slightly alternate Earth. Whereas in this film, you're right, it's very different. It's much more of a dystopia. Tekken are companies that have taken over different companies have taken over the world.
Is Tekken a company in the games?
I think it might be. I think it might be the one that's owned by the Mishimas. But honestly, I don't know.
In this, basically, the setup to this is it's shit Blade Runner.
Yes.
And Tekken are the equivalent of... What's the company in Blade Runner that makes the replicants?
The Pyramid one. I actually can't remember the name of the company.
They're basically Wayland Yutani from Alien.
Yeah.
And the main character, Jin, lives with his mum.
Her name is Tonic.
Well, that's you trying to be funny. I thought I replaced you with Preston. Yeah, that's not funny at all. In her name, June. So it's one letter difference.
Yeah,
it's Jun instead of Jin.
Yeah, so the main character is Jin and his mum's called Jun.
Right.
So he's Jin Kazama, she's Jun Kazama. That's canon to the games, to be fair.
I know it is. I could tell by how stupid it was. And life is shit, and nothing is worth living for.
It's like a hardcore corporate dystopia as well, because there's no fresh fruit, or there's very little fresh fruit, very little fresh coffee, so that's become incredibly expensive, and there's multiple different currencies.
Yeah, that was weird as well. Anyway, there's this big company called Tekken, and every year or every so many years they host the Iron Fist tournament.
Yeah, so that they can all compete and see who is still the best company.
It's stupid. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Fair play to Dwight Little and Alan B. McElroy. They're working overtime to make this film work. And you're like, guys, you didn't need to.
Well,
you're overcomplicating it.
Well, I think the problem is they set up a lot of things that are more interesting in idea, but they either ran out of time or just couldn't be asked to fully explore them. So the idea that there are different companies that compete in a tournament as basically a dick measuring competition isn't a bad idea. The problem is it doesn't go anywhere, because you get a couple that are saying, oh, this one's from Valencorp, but the other companies never really get involved in this tournament. They've just maybe sent a guy, and then that's...
Now that's your crossover fighting game. Fighting corporations. From Tekken, we've got Jin Kazuya, or whatever his name is. Versus, from Aperture Science, GLaDOS!
GLaDOS would win.
And their opponent in the red corner, from the Umbrella Corporation, Albert Wesker!
Albert Wesker would win out of those
Yeah, of course he would. Of course he would. Now, because let's be honest, here's how that match goes. The referee goes, fight, or activate if it's Craig Charles.
Yes.
And GLaDOS goes, warming up the deadly neurotoxin that takes 6 minutes to warm. And before she finishes that sentence, Wesker's ripped her core out.
Yeah.
And then he rips Kazuya's heart out, because Wesker would kick the shit out of Tekken.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. You wouldn't even need Ouroboros to
And technically, he's been in a fighting game as well.
Wesker, Marvel v. Capcom
Yeah.
3.
Yep.
Which is probably the best fighting game I've ever played, Marvel v. Capcom 3. I still
know
didn't even
what?
like that.
I'm kind of surprised they've never... Not with Marvel, because the cost of that now with them being owned by Disney, but...
You can tell, yeah, there's a reason they haven't done a Marvel Capcom game since Marvel became massive.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they think they're too big for you now, Capcom.
Yeah, but it would be like Capcom have a lot since they've done crossovers. It might be interesting to see a crossover, just Capcom v Capcom.
Well, at one point, Capcom were really well known for fighting games, weren't they?
Yeah,
Back in the day.
Well, they still technically are, but yeah, in the 90s they held a lot of the big ones.
As you know, I engage in the illegal practice of emulating.
Yep.
And
emulation isn't illegal.
Oh, okay, good. I'd ratted myself
Downloading
out there.
ROMs is illegal.
Oh, well, I've never done that. I obtained through logical means, legal means, a lot of games for my Redream emulator. And it turns out a lot of them are fighters, which really pissed me off. But nearly every single one of them's made by Capcom.
Yeah.
Fucking Techromancer.
Yep.
Power Stone. Yep. There's a Spawn fighting game. That turns out to be Capcom.
Yep.
There was a bunch of them.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking hell, Capcom.
Capcom really strongly supported the Dreamcast.
Yeah, I'm fine with them supporting the Dreamcast, but they have to support it with fighting games. Maybe if they'd support it with good games, the Dreamcast wouldn't have failed.
Well, they did Code Veronica.
I know, good boys.
Good boys.
Good boys.
Yeah,
Great
good
game.
girls.
Fucking
boys and
solid
girls.
game. Beautiful game, that. Resident Evil Code Veronica. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you need the American version, though.
See, what they should have done is Capcom should have basically released all these great games and then gone, hey, Sega, looks like you're failing a bit. We'll buy you.
Yep.
And it'll become the Capcom Dreamcast.
Saycom.
Capca.
And then the games are Capca-esque.
Which ties into Revelations 2, where they keep quoting Franz Kafka.
There you go, see?
There you go.
We're building our own universe here.
So anyway, this fighting competition, everyone represents a different company, except there's a one open spot that is... Basically, it's
called the open
dodgeball.
call.
You know,
Yeah.
in dodgeball, when there's one team's allowed to open by winning a regional qualifying match,
Yeah.
they have a one spot that's for the people's choice.
Yeah, it's an open call, but no one's ever won it, because obviously you have to defeat a Tekken fighter in order to get in.
Obviously, we see where this is going. Jin's got a girlfriend, they bone, the Tekken soldiers turn up because he's been running illegal stuff.
He's been running illegal information to the underground. It's a very... almost like they went, let's put Tekken and cross it with John Wick.
We literally didn't need any of this.
Not John Wick, Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, we didn't need any of this. They turn up, they kill his mum, right?
Yep.
So he decides, well, now I must enter Tekken, because that's how I get my revenge. I enter a fighting tournament where all the odds will be against me. He enters, he meets Luke Goss's character.
Yep.
Luke Goss is essentially playing, to equivalent this to Rocky, which it certainly is not. Which I don't think you've ever seen Rocky, have you?
No, I've still yet to see it.
Mate, I put off seeing Rocky for years because I was like, it's a fucking sports movie, why would I care?
Yeah.
And then I finally watched it last year. It's not really a sports movie.
No, it's about
It is a drama.
Yeah.
But the character in that who trains Rocky, who's played by Burgess Meredith, who people will also know as the Penguin from the 60s Batman.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that guy. This character is the equivalent of that, except we get no information about this character. He's just Luke Goss. I don't think Luke Goss knew he was in the film. I think I could believe Luke Goss just runs illegal bare knuckle boxing rings and they just turned up and filmed him at one. He was like, fucking hell, this guy's good.
Well, he plays a character from the games called Steve Fox, but the version... I know that he is one of several characters in this that is basically nothing like the video game version of his character.
No.
I know. It's surprising that they didn't go with some... Is he British or Australian?
Luke Goss is British.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's got a gruff sort of British accent.
Yeah, Luke Goss is
You're all a bunch of wankers.
Oh, I don't want to be mean to Luke Goss because I'm sure he's a lovely person. But in terms of his career, Luke Goss is like the B-grade Jason Statham. Now, Jason Statham is already B-grade, in my opinion, so he's like C-grade.
Right.
But he does a lot of direct-to-DVD action films.
Yeah.
That if that's the sort of thing you like, for the people who like that sort of thing...
That's the sort of thing they like.
That is not the sort of thing I like. So I'm not too familiar with his career.
Sure.
But I know he does lots and lots of like low-budget direct-to-DVD action films. And fair play to him. If people like that, they like that.
I've heard he talks about people behind their backs, though. Because he's always doling out the goss. That's short for gossip.
You realise I now have the power to cancel this show, right?
Oh no, I
As
made a
the
mistake.
distributor. So you need to stop being nicer to me.
I'm being nice.
No puns.
That's not a rule.
For those who don't know, we have a sign on our office wall that says "No shirt, no shoes, no puns."
Oh, I thought it meant pins, like on your tie. No pin ties. Or tie pins. Which is why you haven't written for a while, because there's no tie pins. So this film... He's giving me the death stare.
Jin wins. He beats this random bloke, and I guess it's an okay fight. But the problem with this fight...
Martial law is who he did.
Martial law, that was it. I remembered it being stupid. The problem with this fight is it ends up setting up a template that we will see repeated for the entire goddamn movie, which is every fight goes this way. Jin enters, Jin gets his ass beat, Jin has a flashback to when his dear old mum trained him as a martial art fighter, and then suddenly finds the strength to win.
Yeah.
That's every fight in the film.
Now, that's a decent enough trope, and it's great to put that in your film. Absolutely fine. Once.
Not every fight.
But it is literally every fight, and he must have 4 or 5 fights throughout this film. So you see that trope play out in exactly the same way 4 or 5 times. There is not a single fight he wins without that trope in it.
And nothing his mum's teaching him is particularly revolutionary.
No.
I was watching it and going, I'm a fat guy. And even I know that half of what she's saying is pretty good fighting advice. Like,
yeah. Well, there's one, when he fights Yoshimitsu, obviously it's kind of scary because he's a guy in all this armour and he's completely faceless, basically, because he's got a big mask on. The advice that he flashes back to him, like, that was weirdly specific. Because bear in mind that it's just him and his mum in their garden training. You must destroy the mask of death in order to not be scared by it, or something like that. And you're like, that's a weirdly considering neither of you are wearing masks.
Yeah, it's not a good script. But he beats martial law, which earns him a place as the people's choice. And Luke Goss is all like, hey, you should let me train you and represent you because, you know, it costs money to enter the tournament. Even though you've won, you need to buy gear, you need to pay for your travel to the Tekken competition, etc.
And he also needs to have registration stuff. Then he's basically admin boy.
Yeah, and he agrees. So he goes there. We meet a bunch of uninteresting fighters, the most interesting of which unfortunately have little screen time, which is to be fair to this film, it knows its audience, so it casts some babes. But babes, as they say on We Hate Movies. Yeah,
this is a very old school film in the fact that it basically goes, we're going to go for horny teenagers, and we're going to go for exactly that mark.
Yeah, we know we're aiming at the horny teenage boy market, so we're going to have sexy women in hardly any clothes, big-ass muscly dudes who are badasses, and a bunch of, like, ridiculous martial arts type fighting.
Yeah, and you know what? I love it.
I
love the
I
choice.
don't like this film, but I appreciate that choice.
Yeah, because
I'm quite a fan of trash films like that because I'm an immature psychopath.
But also, we don't really get... It's weird, I know.
Films like this don't exist anymore,
no,
you're right.
You're not allowed to make them.
No, well, only on a super low budget, so you don't get quality anymore.
Yeah, so...
one day I'm going to show you a film called Drive Angry that's kind of this.
Right.
Except... Drive Angry has been tainted now because the sex appeal in it is Amber Heard.
Right.
And now we all know she's a bitch. But back when we didn't know any of that, I was a big fan of that film.
Right.
It was like, yeah. We're introduced to all the other fighters. They all represent different companies. You don't need to know 90% of them because due to this film not having a great organisational structure, most of these people never have an actual fight in the film.
That is true.
The ones you do need to know is the guy who ends up becoming the main villain, although we'll talk about whether he should have been the main villain or not later, is called, I want to say, Brian, the cyborg man.
Oh, Brian Fury.
Brian Fury.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sorry, calling your main villain Brian... It's kind of like calling your main villain Albert, actually. Brian Fury.
You can't just call him Fury either, because that's... At least with Wesker, it's like, oh, it's still a name.
It's Wesker.
But if you went, oh, here comes Fury, it's a little bit camp.
I'm
Fury.
Brian Fury's a big muscular dude with a stupid haircut. And we learn later on in the film is that he is cybernetically enhanced.
Yep.
You've got Christy
Monteiro, yeah.
played by Kelly Overland.
Yep.
She's relevant because she's going to be the love interest. Nina turns up from the games, played by Candice Hildebrand. I'll say it, she's smoking hot, and I'm disappointed she's not in the film more. Yoshimitsu is a big metal samurai guy, and beyond that, pretty much none of them are relevant. The tournament is being hosted by Hitachi Kazuya.
Heihachi Mishima.
Heihachi Mishima, and Kazuya's his son, isn't he?
Kazuya Mishima.
Kazuya Mishima. Heihachi Mishima is played by Mortal Kombat alum Kariyuki Tagawa in a role that I'm sorry he is not fit to play.
Why not?
Because I've seen the character art, and that man is meant to be roided to the fucking gills. And Kariyuki Tagawa must at this point must be fairly old.
He is, yeah. Well, bear in mind he was probably in his late 30s, early 40s when he did Mortal Kombat in 95.
He's got to be in his 50s here.
Yeah, easily, maybe 60s.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, this character is meant to be in his 50s or 60s. He is an old man.
He's the right age for
but
the
he's
character.
Meant to be roided to the fucking gills. This character should have been played by Hulk Hogan. Or Batista.
For the size, yeah.
Right, we need to talk about the hair. The hair on Kariyuki.
Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa.
I'm drunk. Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. It looks stupid. I know it's game accurate. I know. It looks so fucking dumb. And this is not his fault because he's a good actor.
Yep.
But I wanted to laugh every time he turned up on screen. It looks so dumb. It's the eye, but the hair's one thing.
The massive eyebrows.
It's the eyebrows.
Yeah.
That are constantly in an anger position. If you gotta have the hair, get rid of the eyebrows.
Yeah.
And his son is Kazuya, and I don't know the name of the actor who plays him, but he was alright actually. He wasn't too bad.
See you after the break.
So the guy who plays Kazuya, Ian Anthony Dale, has been on other VGMP movies, ironically a different Mortal Kombat, to Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. So Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa was Shang Tsung in 95 Mortal Kombat.
Was he in Annihilation?
No, Ian Anthony Dale was in Mortal Kombat Legacy as Scorpion. Live action series. He was actually, I thought he was a very good Scorpion.
Does he say, "Get over here"?
Yes, he does. Ian Anthony Dale does what he can with a frankly terribly written role.
He's one of the best bits in the film.
Yeah.
The other best bit is Nina and how fucking hot she is.
Yeah.
So, yes, he's the best thing in terms of acting ability.
Yeah, because when he's conflicted, like when his dad is berating or belittling him, things like that, and even when he betrays his father, you can see in the performance this duality where he still craves his father's approval, but he has to override him, or it's just like, I can't believe he doesn't love me, or he doesn't, give me the approval that I deserve.
Yeah.
And he plays that really well, considering that there really is nothing in this role.
Yeah.
It's the actor bringing more to the role than was there on the page.
He's trying harder than the material deserves.
And I feel really sorry for him, because if he'd been given a better script, his performance would have sailed.
I'm going to do a quick bit of summing up, because we're taking longer on this episode than we should. And to be honest, the whole middle bit is not worth talking about. Basically, here's your plot. It turns out Jin is actually the son of Kazuya.
Yes,
who
he raped
Jin's mum,
yeah.
who used to work for Tekken.
Yeah, and it wasn't Luke Goss, it was Heihachi managed to get her out while she was pregnant before Kazuya could find out and kill her.
Yeah, Kazuya finds this out and for some reason wants his son dead, just because he's like an embarrassing mistake.
Yeah.
And he overthrows Heihachi in the process to make sure he can fix the tournament to kill Jin. A bunch of fights happen in the middle, most of which are not interesting because, A, most characters don't get a fight. Anna never fights, even though she's in the tournament.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of them who don't get fights. I'm sure Rory will probably write a fucking article on the VGMP website about it.
So
you can look at.
I'll give you a small breakdown, but basically 4 characters never lose a fight. Now, Jin doesn't lose a fight because he wins the tournament. Surprise, surprise.
But some we never see fight, or Anna doesn't have any official fights.
So we see Raven fight. He beats Eddie Gordo in the first fight of the tournament. Mm-hmm. And then he never fights again. We never see him have another tournament fight, so he never technically loses.
But same thing happens to Christy.
Yeah,
Christy beats
fights,
Nina, and then somehow is just not in the tournament anymore.
Yeah, and she doesn't have any other fights.
And you're like, well, she never got eliminated. Like,
and as you say, Anna Williams never had a fight, let alone lost or won any. She's literally not. She's just been standing around the sides. I do think there was a little bit of editing work going on.
I want to talk about that later, about how this film was clearly butchered in the edit.
Yeah, but I don't think that Anna Williams' fight scenes were cut, because I can't find any evidence that there were any fight scenes filmed for her. I think she was just what they consider I think she was just a good-looking actress that they cast to put in the role, and went, well, we don't need to see her fight anyway because it's not story relevant. What doesn't make sense...
I'm just mad Nina's not in more of the film. Because isn't she like a major character in Tekken the game? She's the only one who got a spin-off game. I've got that game. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't played it. But if she's the only one they thought fit to give a spin-off game to, she must be a major character.
So basically, let's talk about some issue with this. So you've got Christy Monteiro as the love interest for Jin, even though he's already got a girlfriend. That this film never deals with that. She is the good guy female character that we root for, but her, even in her fight with Nina, there is no story arc for Christy.
No.
She's just default female assist. So even in the fight with Nina, it's Nina has to go, I like your boyfriend, I don't share. And you're like, oh god, like really?
Much like the Mass Effect episode we did, this film is not great for female representation.
No, absolutely not. But here's the interesting part. Nina Williams, her story is a little bit more game accurate in this, in that she's working for Kazuya, and she works as an assassin for Kazuya, so she is a villain, right? That much is correct. Anna Williams is the bodyguard of Jin Kazama in the games.
But in this, she's also a bodyguard for Kazuya.
Yeah, and she's just some side character with no story of her own. She's doesn't even have dialogue. Doesn't have a single line of dialogue, Anna Williams.
Does she not?
She does not have a single line of dialogue. She's literally eye candy. Wouldn't it have made more sense to have Anna Williams as the female lead character? Don't have to even change the cast, right? Just put the woman who plays Christy Montero, Kelly Overton. Just put her in, because the woman they cast in as Anna Williams, even though it's a Chinese outfit, she herself is not Asian, because I don't believe the character's Asian. So just put Kelly Overton in that dress and make her Anna Williams. Then, when the two fight, you don't have to make it about the guy. You make it about the sisters, how they've fallen out, and you automatically build in an arc of why the two sisters are opposed to each other, and you can give them all some small arc of why they're on opposing sides of the fence. It's built in just by converting Christy Montero into Anna Williams.
Yeah.
But they evaded it for some reason.
To be honest, and obviously I don't know the games, so I might be speaking completely out of turn here. But to me, because game fans might not have liked this, to me, they have greatly overcomplicated the narrative of this. It doesn't need any of the future shit, fine, have the corporation shit so it stands out. No, it doesn't need any of the whole side story where they get locked up in a jail cell and then he still lets them fight when they escape.
Let them fight.
Like, honestly.
Yeah. Well, so basically what happens at that point is where Kazuya takes over the tournament from his dad, overthrows his father, and he locks every single one of the fighters away. Weirdly enough, he also locks away Nina Williams.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But as we've said, we think this film probably had a lot of editing.
Yeah.
Like, after the fact.
Yeah.
Because there's whole bits that actually don't make any sense. I don't just mean in terms of script. I mean literally the footage you are watching. So, for example, there's a bit where, Jin wins a fight.
Against
and is
Yoshimitsu.
relatively fine. He's not, like, dying or anything.
Yeah.
We cut away briefly, literally for about 30 seconds, and when we cut back, he's laying on the floor, clutching his stomach like he's been fucking annihilated.
Yeah.
And the person standing in the ring behind him,
Is Brian
in soft
Fury.
focus, is Brian Fury, not Yoshimitsu.
Yeah. And he just literally defeated Yoshimitsu and killed him and was still standing. And now suddenly he's out of the ring, lying on the floor, wounded, with Brian Fury in the ring.
Yeah.
And it's a blink and you'll miss it, but it's still, you're like, your brain picks up on it and goes, something doesn't connect on these shots.
And we wondered, didn't we, if maybe they changed the order that the fights were meant to be in. Maybe Yoshimitsu was actually meant to be last.
Yeah, because Brian Fury was meant to be the standing winner. So we don't actually hear names. When they put in the fight selector, and it comes up, Yoshimitsu versus Jin Kazama, the People's Choice. And Heihachi tries to rejig the order, doesn't he? He goes, oh, this would be better suited to the semi-finals. Well, neither of them mention the names Yoshimitsu or Jin Kazama or even Brian Fury. No names are mentioned. So it could be that initially Brian Fury was the one. It would be better for the semi-finals because he's the standing champion. And then, because also the environments change. So when they fight Yoshimitsu, it's in like this Japanese garden. When he then next fights Brian Fury, the arena has changed to be like a desert-looking sand thing. And then immediately, like, after defeating Brian Fury and having, quote-unquote, won the tournament, Kazuya goes, right, I'm going to get in the ring, announce me, grabs two axes and marches into the ring, and the ring is suddenly the Japanese garden again.
Yeah.
Instantly. It makes, and also, as you say, the way that it cut with him defeating Yoshimitsu and then suddenly being out of the ring while Brian Fury is in it,
Yeah.
suggests to me that, yeah, you're right, he probably lost the fight against Brian Fury, actually, initially, and then they'd had the whole running around and, you know, whatever, getting arrested. And then it was a fight against Yoshimitsu. Once he defeated Yoshimitsu, he then fought Kazuya.
You know what would have been a better story? And I know this is probably going against the games, but it would have been better for this. I'm just talking about this film.
Yeah.
Jin should have also been Hayachi's son. So him and Kazuya are brothers.
Okay.
Fuck this bollocks where Hayachi's actually a good guy, because I'm sorry, it's Karayuki Tagawa,
Yep.
and he looks like that. That's not a good person.
No, he's not.
Have him be this villainous Vince McMahon type character, billionaire who raped this woman. They're brothers, separated by a fairly decent age gap. Have Kazuya, he's the reigning champion of Tekken.
Yeah.
None of this bullshit where he just inserts himself into the fight at the last round. Because that's bollocks, and it leaves us a load of unnecessary explanation, because you're watching the whole film going, obviously he's going to fight him.
Yeah.
So why have this added bit where he's like,
oh
I'm
no,
going to insert
Kazuya's
myself.
joining in, yeah.
Yeah, just have him be the reigning champion for the whole film. We know that they're going to come against each other at some point.
Also,
and they're almost fighting for... One's fighting for his dad's approval.
Yeah.
The other one is fighting almost against... He's like, I don't want to be your son. Like, I'm horrified that I've learned that you're my dad. It'll be a bit like, to quote a non-video game film, the thing that makes... do you remember we watched The Quick and the Dead?
Yeah.
The thing that makes that film work is you spend the entire film knowing that Gene Hackman's going to fight Leonardo DiCaprio at some point.
Yeah.
Who is his own son.
Yeah.
And the whole time, he keeps saying to Leo DiCaprio, you should drop out because I'm not going to treat you well. I'm not going to go easy on you just because you're my son, so you should drop out now. Imagine how much more emotionally invested you would be if it was just that small change.
Yeah. Also, it makes more sense for Kazuya, because it means that, because as he says, like, even though Kazuya has a son in this version of it, the fact that Jin wins wouldn't make any difference to Kazuya being in charge of Tekken. But if it's his brother, it could be, if he wins the Tekken tournament, it's like, well, then he's proven he's the better brother and should take over ownership of the company.
Yeah, have Hayashi pull a fucking Darth Vader shit where he's like, I am your father, and if you beat your brother, I will hand control of Tekken to you when I die.
Yeah, and because that way he's also engineering his own entertainment, using his sons as pawns in a psychological and sick game.
Yeah.
Which sets him up as a villain, which is perfect. This film needed another few goes in the oven, I think, with its script.
Yeah, definitely.
But for whatever reason, what we're left with is a bit of a mess.
I'm wondering if it got, like, rushed into production or something like that.
Probably.
Because you're right, it feels like it needed a couple more go-rounds in the editing process at the script level.
Yeah, not in the... Obviously, it had plenty going on in the script, in the editing room.
Ooh.
The fights are fast-cutting, and that can be a bit jarring. But I didn't mind that so much. It's when the story jumps about from pillar to post, and you're just like, mate, something has gone wrong in this film where this keeps happening. The ending is weird as well, because essentially he's snogged Christy Monteiro.
Yep.
He's gotten to the end, he's beaten Kazuya.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I don't need this. And he just leaves.
Yeah. Well, before that, because I've been setting this joke up the whole time.
Okay.
Before that, she holds his hand up, doesn't she? Even though I guess there's no official referee.
Yeah. Where did they go?
She says he's no longer the people's choice. He's now the what?
People's champion.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Okay, that's enough of that before we get copyright sued by the WWE. The whole time they kept saying "People's Choice," I kept mishearing it as "People's Champion."
The People's Champion.
If you smell, I just want to do that. Do you know what? I'm not going to lie. Do you know what else would have improved this film? If the commentators actually had some personality. If it was Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler.
Well, to be
My God, this is a slobber knocker for the ages.
Well, that's something else that's kind of annoying. There is an announcer, but only at the beginning, like when they say, "Oh, it's Jin versus this person." But during the fights, there's no announcing going on.
The commentators only have lines when we cut to them.
Yeah, they are very generic.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm joking because I'm a wrestling fan about it being JR and Jerry Lawler. But what you need is something... You need just someone with personality, like in Dodgeball. Where you've got Cotton and... what's
Knight, something Knight.
No, he's Cotton McKnight.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And what's Jason Thingy's character's name? I actually can't remember. Except all the lines are right. You are a cut.
Yeah.
Whoever Jason Bateman plays.
Yeah.
They're only commentators, and they're two of the most memorable characters in the film.
Yeah.
Like, they're fucking brilliant. You needed some good commentators here.
Yeah.
Anyway, she declares him champion, and then you're right, the ending makes no sense.
Because he just walks off.
He basically goes, no, I don't want any of this shit. Fuck this.
Including her.
He walks off, and you're like, well, nothing's changed then. Like,
yeah.
Because they're all hailing him like he's the hero who's going to overthrow Tekken, the corporation.
Yeah, but
he hasn't.
He leaves. All the soldiers start like saluting to him as he walks past. So it's like, okay, has he got power then? But he doesn't seem to want to do anything with it.
Makes more sense if Hayachi made the competition.
Who takes over?
Whoever wins out of Kazuya and Jin becomes the new CEO of Tekken.
You know what? It would have made sense just to make it that whoever wins takes over Tekken.
Yeah.
So, like, even if it wasn't one of those two, but we always know as the audience that it's going to come down to one of those two.
Don't get me wrong, it's still stupid, because unless you're Vincent Kennedy McMahon, what CEO would do that? Whoever wins this match is the leader of this company. But we'd buy... That could be your one thing. As I've said to you before, Rory, and I think I've said it on air, I have a theory that with all films, you get one leap.
Yeah.
That the audience will go with you on as long as you set it up right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And we've talked, haven't we, a lot, and I'm sorry to turn this into talking about real films instead of films like this, but, you know. We've talked about the beginning of Nightmare on Elm Street and how that perfectly sums that up.
say real film.
Because she has the nightmare, better than this, by an actual auteur director. She has the nightmare, doesn't she, of Freddy.
Yeah.
And he grabs her, and when she wakes up, her mum comes in and goes, is everything all right? She goes, yeah, I was having a bad dream. And she goes, look what you've done to your nightdress. And she shredded it where Freddy grabbed her. That's it. That's your logical leap that you're allowed in Elm Street.
Yeah,
is if you die in your dream, you die for real.
Yeah.
What this needed was right at the beginning was Tekken. The way the leader of Tekken is decided is through a fighting tournament.
Or even just this one time.
Or just this one time. Point is, it's stupid, but we'll go with it because it's the central conceit of your film.
Yeah.
This doesn't do that.
No, it jumps too much. And it doesn't build any of the characters. Even Jin only gets a marginal amount of growth, and he's your lead.
Even, because remember we said a lot of the people never get shown losing.
Yeah.
You don't even need to make a big deal of it. Dodgeball, you only ever really see Average Joes and Globo Jim play.
Yeah.
Every other character in the tournament, every other team, is done in a quick montage.
And it's not even all the ones that are shown on screen. It's just like, because it's like, oh, okay, I get that this tournament is continuing while I'm not observing it.
But we don't get that feeling in Tekken.
No, because
it feels like if Jin isn't fighting, nothing's happening.
Yeah, well, it's because all the fighters have to be around the arena while other fights go on. So, like, Anna Williams, who has no fights, she's in every single fight scene, insofar as she is standing on the parapet watching. But essentially, we should be seeing Jin have to come out and watch other people fight, which he does a couple of times. When Brian Fury fights the Russian guy, Sergey something, he's in there watching that happen.
Yeah.
So what is it then? Like, are we supposed to expect that all the fighters are observing every match? In which case, where are they?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't want to sit here and be like, I'm super smart and I've solved this film. But I honestly think making the change I've said fixes most of this film.
I think you need
you have
that.
Brian, because you can even still get your subplot that they kind of lead in with this and then it doesn't go anywhere. Brian is a cheater.
Yeah.
He's actually got cybernetic enhancements.
Yeah.
You could still have Kazuya find that out and deliberately fix it so Brian fights Jin before him, which then gives you the hint of, oh, Kazuya's a bit scared. He knows Jin might beat him, so he's sending Brian to fight him first. But then when he beats Brian, you get to have Jin have this whole Kazuya have this whole sort of, fuck.
Yeah.
And that's when he decides, fuck it, we're gonna change the last match so it's got weapons in it, for example.
Yeah, and then they bring in Yoshimitsu.
Because he comes in with the big axes, doesn't he?
Oh,
Kazuya?
yeah, he does.
Because that was weird as well, Yoshimitsu being able to have a sword when everyone else has had to fight hand-to-hand up to that point.
Yeah.
I know that's in the game, but...
Yeah, but you are right. The thing is, even bringing in Yoshimitsu before Kazuya works. But putting him in before Brian Fury doesn't work because the audience is supposed to believe Brian Fury is just a dude.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, what I'd probably do is, and I know this is fucking with the game again, so I apologise, fans, but this is just me as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I'd just have Brian Fury be a dude and have him get eliminated earlier on. Because Yoshimitsu's got the far more intimidating character design.
Yep.
He has no lines. Have him be this sort of silent, but make sure Yoshimitsu.
He's your Goro.
Every match we see Yoshimitsu do before he gets to Jin, he should win in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, he should be an unstoppable monster.
Yeah.
But he never speaks. And you still want to do your cybernetic thing? Fine, do it.
With Yoshimitsu.
Have it turn out when Jin finally knocks the mask off, he's a fucking Terminator underneath.
But the thing is, Yoshimitsu is meant to be animatronic.
Yeah.
So that would actually work.
Yeah.
More so than Brian Fury being an animatronic.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've ragged on a little bit of this. The story doesn't really work in and of itself. We found things that we think would make it a better film, not necessarily an A-star film.
No, I don't think you can make this an A-star, but it is. No. I'll give it this to balance what we've said. It's not the worst film we've ever seen.
No.
It's nice and quick.
It doesn't lag.
It doesn't lag.
We watched Mass Effect Paragon Lost. We were bored.
We
weren't
as
bored
shit
watching
Mass
this.
Effect. This isn't boring. It's not good. It's no good. But it's the sort of film that if you get a bunch of your friends round and you have some drinks and a pizza and whatnot, and you're mostly just chatting while it's on, it's not terrible. Like, it's got enough eye candy, enough fight scenes, and enough stupidity to it that you're not going to hate it. Like, I had a good time, if you know what I mean.
Well, my view on this film, actually, I really enjoy it. And again, it's probably because I'm not a big fan of Tekken, because I know a lot of Tekken fans hate this film.
Yeah.
But I really like it. I like the fact there's not much CGI. That is a massive boon to me.
Yeah.
The fight scenes are a bit on the edit side, but And I hate the fact that every single one of them plays out in the same motif, as we said. You know, he's losing, gets flashback, then wins. But these people are actually MMA fighters. And they are having not actual fights, but they're choreographed like actual fights. And they're being lobbed about, they're being kicked, they're being punched. There's really cool ideas in this that I really appreciate as a martial arts film, way more so than a lot of the more popular ones, like the more modern Mortal Kombat. I didn't think much of that worked. Blood Vengeance, all CGI, and some of the fight scenes were okay in that, but it's CGI fights. A lot of modern films don't even do real fight sequences anyway. They just use CGI models bouncing around like puppets. I really appreciate that this was an old school fighting film. So I like that. The eye candy is good. It's nice to see it in a film every now and then. Don't get me wrong, I don't want my entire film library to be smut. But there's enough of it to make it okay, and it's relatively harmless. I just wish there was a bit more development on the female characters, so it wasn't quite so exploitative. Christy Montero's got her arse out for pretty much the entire film, which I'd feel a bit less guilty about enjoying if the character had some fucking arcs. I'd be like, well, at least the character's still good. There isn't a character arc for her, so you just literally, you just wanted a woman to get her arse out. I see, nice. But it's an enjoyable film. I really like the aesthetic of it. It's used, I don't know what type of film grain it's using. I don't know how it was filmed, but it looks like it's using either 16mm or it's just using a very grainy 35mm film stock. And the reason that's important, I know this is getting a bit wanky, but it gives it a really chunky grain structure, which makes it feel like an old school film. Much more so that it's not glossy. Unlike something like King of Fighters, which we've not yet covered on the channel, which is incredibly glossy.
Really?
Yeah.
You have a high budget then?
No, it's just like the way it's filmed. It's
Right.
like squeaky clean looking. This isn't squeaky clean. This is dirty. It's downright nasty looking, and that fits with the dystopian. Almost, well, I suppose it is cyberpunk. Because you've got the neon world, futuristic, dystopian, corporatist world, and you've got people that are mostly cyborg, like Brian Fury.
Is this a cyberpunk?
I think it classifies.
No, I was doing the meme.
Yeah, but it is true. I think.
No, this has definitely got a cyberpunk vibe to it.
Yeah.
Which just doesn't do any favours for my argument that cyberpunk's a garbage genre filled with garbage films, but it is a cyberpunk film.
Yes. So, thank you very much. And I'll tell you
Garbage.
what. Honestly, I find this film infinitely rewatchable.
I wouldn't say infinitely, but I could.
It's not the best thing
I
we've
could
ever
probably
watched.
watch it again in a few years' time.
Yeah, it's not infinitely watchable in like Dodgeball, where you could watch it every few months and not get bored.
Yeah.
But every couple of years, you could pop this on without any issue.
Yeah. It's not good though.
No, but that's the thing. It's knowing that you can enjoy something that's not great
Yeah.
and still have fun. Like watching American Ninja, for example. It's
Yeah.
not a good film, but you could enjoy it. People also do the same more famously with things like The Room.
Yeah.
There is a space for films like this.
Of course there is.
And on that route, I will half recommend it. I would actually recommend it for anyone who's not a Tekken fan, more so than Tekken fans.
Yeah, I can't imagine Tekken fans are big fans of this.
But certainly if you like cyberpunk aesthetic stuff, there isn't many decent martial arts cyberpunk films, so this is as close as you get.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm drunk and I'm about to go out and get more booze, but I would half recommend this as well, actually.
Yes!
It's not good. It isn't good at all. It's fairly incompetent, to be honest.
It's almost luck that it's as fun as it is, isn't it?
But it's not pretentious. It knows what it is. And it's got all the base ingredients that a fucking immature bloke like me needs.
Yeah.
It's got hot chicks, they fight, it's got fighting, it's got a fucking decent enough villain.
It's got a fucking new metal soundtrack.
Oh god, the new metal.
Yes!
Which was already 2000 and late by the time this
By
film
2010,
came out.
yeah, new metal was already well out of fashion, but you know what? I fucking appreciated it. I appreciated it like I did when it came up in Rollerball 2002.
Yeah. So, there you go. This is Tekken from ye old year of 2010, directed by Dwight Little, written by Alan B. McElroy.
Yep.
Let us know what you thought about Tekken if you've seen it. Email in at info.impalafilms@gmail.com. Please do like, share, and subscribe the podcast. It helps us an immense amount. We'll see you next time on VGMP.
Game over, yeah!
Cyberpunk Studios.